So I already did this side to see how it was working. And so that is pretty good. I can throw my big Harbor Freight square on here and it feels flush. So yeah, good cut. So anyways, I'm just going to do the same thing over here that you just saw happen. And then these will be ready to actually, one of these will get a little chamfer on it for using saws and stuff that come in at an angle like this. So I'm going to cut some of this away. That'll be in a couple of minutes here. One goes kind of on the end a little bit of the ways in. Sometimes what people do is instead of putting it like here, they actually put it in a little ways so they can clamp with this end of the board. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but it's kind of a quick way to get a smaller piece stuck in there in a hurry. So that's one way that people do it. It's not always just the hardware's going here, the handle. Sometimes it gets cheated in a little bit. Okay, so here's what I got. There's glue left over, and what I'm using is a shave hook. I actually use this one for stripping finishes off, and so I clear the extra finish. It's been softened up with this guy because the triangle can get into the corner two different ways and go flat, or it can go vertically here. Just let that go. I'm really trying to get the wetter, softer stuff out of here. So this stuff is skinned up. I just didn't want it to hit my table saw blade. This is doing what I need it to do. It's getting into this edge here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to reduce the amount of glue sticking to my blade, my saw. And then this is some CA or super glue here. I want to scratch that back. And then all this will get trimmed off. I'm going to put it up against the table saw fence. The contact point's going to be here. It's going to be even with the blade. And so that should just slice off and be perfectly flush with this board. There it is. Shave hook is what it's called. This is the triangular. It comes with 3 blades from Rockler. And so, yeah, very handy for removing the goop off a refinished or a piece of furniture that you're applying finish remover or stripper remover. And so, anyways, that's a handy tool to have. Just unscrews, swap it out, piece of cake. Okay, so here's what's going on. I have this board set up on my trusty little vintage table saw. How it works is the wood that I need to trim will pass underneath this piece of wood up here. Same thing, it fits underneath over there. What'll happen is the wood that I want to keep here is going to go up against the fence, the add-on, the wood here, and what's going to happen is it's going to trim all this excess off. I saw this on a Stumpy Nubs video, and I thought it was pretty clever. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this off. So I'll probably lay this down. I'll use the miter gauge. But that is what's going on right now. So I see if I can get the camera where you can kind of watch the action. Okay, so we're going to see how we did here. This is, well, perfect here, but here the blade kind of crept in, and then it snuck along here, got me again. What happened is I think that the fence could have shifted. If I had a little bit shorter board, I could have gone farther down, and then so the clamps I don't think are quite where they need to be. But anyways, yeah, I did a test cut, or when it went through the first time, it looked pretty good. What I'm going to do to fix this is I'm going to send it through my jointer, and then just take off the slice part here from the table saw blade. But overall, I mean, it's pretty close. You know, with hand plane, if I wanted to go that way too, it'd just take a couple of seconds, a few passes, and then I need to just kind of scrape that clear. Okay, so what this is, I'm just trimming off the end, making it flush, or having these be even. It's a little scruffy, it's kind of chipped up, so I'm just going to clean up that edge. Okay, so here's the next phase of the Manic Moxon Vise. So this is the hardware. I think the spring is way too long, but that's a different story. We'll set that aside. I took off the washer and the handle, and then what I did was I kind of eyeballed the washer. I wanted to keep it away from this edge right here, so I brought it down about 1/8 of an inch. And then what I did was I took out this tool I got from Amazon. What I like about this guy is that you get pretty large marking area. So if you're trying, I'm going to put it on there, slide it out, and then there's this little screw here that tightens it up. So if you're, like, let's say on this part, I'm going to cut part of this off to have this area down here for clamping. I don't want all this material. What's great about this guy is you can come in here and you can make a pretty large mark this way, and then you can make a pretty large mark that way. I don't have to drag it. I don't have to move it with the pencil. I can just get a long, I'm going to say about 100mm travel, whatever that is. So I can go up and down this without ever moving the measuring device. Okay, so here's what happened. What happened was this was complicated by the bevel. Because I don't have an edge to register, I measured from the bottom. Actually, yeah, I measured from the bottom initially. So I measured to the center of the circle, and then I ran that line over. So you can see that's on the side. And then I stretched it around to here so it intersected. And then what I did was I remeasured from the top so that I could establish what that is from the top. Because what I want to do is I want to measure from the top down to make my marks on this board on both sides, which I did. And so the reason that's kind of important is that this got cleaned up on the planer, and even though this edge is perfectly even up here, I can feel that it's flush. It's actually, there's a little bit of an overhang here. It's tough to see with the light, but that's what I've got is, let's see, that's even right there. That's flush. And so I still have my little piece that I glued on, but there's, as you can see, there's a little bit under there, which doesn't affect anything really. It's just a matter of I need to measure so that these are perfectly even. When I drill a hole here, I need it to be here. And if I measured from here and there the same amount, I would end up with a hole that's a little bit off, and they would not match up on the top. So that's how that got marked. That's the tool That's the pencil. So on to the next step. I need to drill through, and then here, this hole, this is going to be the inside of the back. That is where this bolt, it gets hollowed out, the depth of that bolt. So I'm going to get a Forstner bit, flat bottom bit. I'm going to go down with a hole that's about the size of the inside of the flat edges, not these high parts here, not the, I don't want to say corners because they're not 90 degrees, but this part right here, there's going to be essentially a circle for the flat part will sit in. And then I take a chisel, so I'll make a round circle where these guys will fit, this distance right here, and then I'll chisel it out to add room for these guys after I trace the bolt onto that hole. So that's how that's going to work. That will be recessed into the wood. Oops. On the back is where this washer and this nut will go to fasten everything in place, and then this will stick through. And then this will get an oval shaped hole over here in the front to account for a little bit of the twisting for tapered clamping, tapered item clamping. So that's the Manic Moxon right now. And so anyways, onto the drill press to do some careful drilling and fitting.